In 2022, we celebrate 130 years of HBCU football. On December 27th, 1892, Livingstone and Biddle College, now known as Johnson C. Smith University, played in Salisbury, North Carolina, with Biddle winning 5-0. Over time, HBCU football has evolved. HBCU football's popularity continues to rise. Millions attend games each year and millions more watch on television. The HBCU bands provide some of the top entertainment in the country. Over that time, some of the best players to ever play in the National Football League played at HBCUs. Every Monday through Friday on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, national radio and television host Donal Ware takes a look at what's happening in HBCU football and talks with coaches, players, administrators, and media about the 2022 season. Make sure you join the conversation on social media by using the hashtag HBCU130. Now, here's your host, Donal Ware.
This is the HBCU Football Daily Podcast for today, Tuesday, August 2nd. I'm Donal Ware. Hope you enjoyed yesterday's interview, had a chance to catch our conversation, had a chance to catch up with West Virginia State head football coach John Pennington. The Yellow Jackets looking to really break out in that MEAC conference or the Mountain East Conference on this year. I want to go back as on Friday, the MEAC had its annual media day. Now, remember, the MEAC is down to six football playing institutions in the MEAC, but the schools remain strong, the institutions remain strong, and so it promises to be a really good season when you talk about football in the MEAC. I mean, I look at South Carolina State, who obviously was picked to win the MEAC this year, and rightfully so. I mean, you look at what the Bulldogs were able to do on last year, winning the Celebration Bowl, being named HBCU national champions. Most of the players come back. I mean, the key loss from last year is Jacoby Durant, who was drafted in this year's National Football League draft. But I mean, you look at Corey Fields, the quarterback, comes back. You look at the bookends when you talk about Green and Gold and Godbolt on the defensive ends. I look at a guy like a BJ Davis, who's been really, really good for South Carolina State at the linebacker positions. Promises to be Kendrell Flowers, the running back, comes back, right? So you look at South Carolina State, and it's going to be a really good football team. It's going to challenge for another HBCU national championship, and I think, has the advantage here in the MEAC. But let's not sleep on really any of the teams. I think if you look at the MEAC, even with 6 teams, I think all of the teams are going to be better this year. I thought Norfolk State and Dawson Odoms in his first year had an opportunity to really grasp that MEAC championship last year in the latter part of this season and couldn't get it done. As a matter of fact, big loss to Delaware State down the stretch on last year. Norfolk State wins that game. You may be talking about Norfolk State as champions. To me, it showed that South Carolina State was destined to win that HBCU national championship with Buddy Pugh in his 20th season as the head football coach. But being picked to finish second this year, North Carolina Central. And I think, Trey Oliver has done a good job. He's improved. They had a solid season last year. Talking about the Eagles, that quarterback position is definitely one that I think is really solidified. And I'm going to tell you why. This is why. I mean, I think it's solidified anyway. But when you look at what Corey Fields did last year, specifically in the Celebration Bowl, and Davius Richard, the quarterback for North Carolina Central, had a solid season last year. Go back to his 2019 season when he was a freshman. You're looking at a young man that can throw the football and can get it done with his legs. And the voters didn't blink with the fact that Corey Fields did a really good job last year in the Celebration Bowl. The voters went with Davius Richard as the quarterback for first team quarterback, and Corey Fields was second team quarterback when you're talking about the preseason rankings or the preseason all conference teams in the MEAC. So I think North Carolina Central is going to be very good this year. Picked to finish second when you're talking about preseason. Norfolk State. Now, I mean, if you're Norfolk State, you got to replace the all-world quarterback. So that, I think that's going to be, that's going to be a challenge, no doubt about that. But what I will say is when you have a young man that's coming back in J.J. Davis, in terms, he was voted the preseason player of the year, the running back special. I mean, he's a special type of player. And I think he's a guy that he's going to have to, be a guy that really stands out. It's going to have to be a guy to sort of really carry the load until when the quarterback kind of gets, is able to kind of get his feet wet. So, I think that when I look at Norfolk State being picked to finish third, there's no surprise there, but I think Norfolk State has an opportunity to be improved this year. Delaware State picked to finish fourth. I look at what Delaware State did last year, and that comeback victory against Norfolk State was big. And I think that's a big win coming into the 2022 season. You look at what Delaware State was able to do with Rod Milstead. And Rod Milstead is a winner. He's a winner where he's been. He won 3 MEAC championships at Delaware State as a player. He won, as a Super Bowl winner in his time in the National Football League. So, he really wanted to turn this program around. And this is year 4, I believe, for Rod Milstead. So, he's got really the bulk of his players, and he's recruited very well. He's got a lot of players coming from that Pennsylvania and Delaware area, that DMV area as well. He's got some guys that can really, really play. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what Delaware State is going to do. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think Delaware State is going to be a team that's going to challenge for the MEAC crown this year. I would, aside maybe from last year, we would do this preseason deal and I would talk about all of the teams, and it would, you'd have to really find a way to say something, or try to be as positive as you can be with respect to Delaware State in years past. But now I'm saying this is going to be a Delaware State team that I think you're going to have to watch out for. I think Howard's going to be good. You look at the offensive side of the football. Howard's got all conference guys all over the place. Wide receiver, you look at the offensive line. I think, year 3, I think this is a year in which Howard can kind of really maybe come to life and really, I don't know if Howard is poised, not sure, in terms of challenging. I wouldn't put, and I think the voters got it right. I definitely would put Delaware State over Howard. No question. I think Delaware State's going to challenge. But with that being said, I think Howard's going to be improved. Then I look at a Morgan State team has really been challenged for several years. You look at Morgan State going back to the 2015 season, won a share of the MEAC crown. And because of the point system with the MEAC, in terms of who would get the automatic playoff bid at that time from the MEAC, it was Morgan State who got the playoff berth. It may have been going back not 15, but the 2014 season, going back to the 2014 season. And Morgan got the playoff berth as well as sharing the MEAC championship. Seems like it's been a long time since that's happened. But I think when you look at Damon Wilson coming over from Bowie State, he's got, and even if it doesn't happen this year, now it may not, I think you're going to see some improvement this year. Will Morgan challenge for the MEAC championship this year? Probably not. But I think when you're talking about the future and Damon Wilson being there, he's got the recruiting base already in terms of what he was able to do at Bowie State for in excess of 10 years. He knows the DM. He's going to recruit locally. He's always gotten kids out of Baltimore, even to come to Bowie State. So he's going to be able to get kids to come from Baltimore to play at Morgan State. And Baltimore is known more as a basketball town, but you're starting to see where the football is becoming a lot better in Baltimore. And he's obviously going to be able to recruit from the DMV And I just think he's going to do a fantastic job at Morgan State in the future. But that said, Morgan's definitely going to be an improved football team this year, and we'll ultimately see how things go. You look at the MEAC, and even though there are 6 teams, you got to play 5 conference games. That gives you an opportunity for 6 non-conference games. It gives teams an opportunity to make some money. You look at what South Carolina State is doing. It's going to make some money. Going to play South Carolina. Going to play Central Florida. So it's going to be able to make some money this year. And so that's where things are with the MEAC. I definitely wouldn't count the MEAC out. I think a lot of people have tried to count the MEAC out. There were questions as to whether Howard was going to leave. Maybe Howard, in fact, was going to leave, or considering it, maybe had some conversations, ultimately decided to stay in the MEAC. You've got 6 teams. And by the way, I think you have to have maybe, I don't know, 6 may get you the automatic berth. It could be 7 to the FCS playoffs, but it's not even going to matter because the MEAC, along with the SWAC, automatically sends its champion to the Celebration Bowl, where the Celebration Bowl is going to make you some money, especially with the winner, and also that national exposure from the game being on ABC. So I think, listen, you never know what may happen in the MEAC. Would a MEAC team get an at-large berth? Depends. I think this is a MEAC that's going to be pretty competitive, but I think the MEAC teams have to compete outside of the conference and win some of those non-conference games. If the MEAC teams can, then whatever team doesn't win the championship perhaps could get a playoff berth. We saw it happen. We've seen it happen before. It's been some years, but we've seen it happen before. I think the last time the MEAC may have gotten an at-large berth may have been 2016. If I'm not mistaken, it was A&T because North Carolina Central won the conference, thus went to the Celebration Bowl, and A&T got an at-large berth. So that was 2016. But across the landscape of HBCU football at the Division I level, you look at in the SWAC where Florida A&M got the at-large berth to the playoffs this past year with the early loss to Jackson State. We may see that again this year. I think, not to get off, this is more about the MEAC, but I think when you're looking at the SWAC, that opening game of the season, I think the winner of that game goes on to win the Eastern Division. And if the other team does well in non-conference play, as Florida A&M was able to do on last year, then you're talking about the SWAC possibly getting an at-large berth as well. Anyway, that's a look at the MEAC on today. After the MEAC had its coaches luncheon, its preseason predictions on Friday. We didn't have a chance to really talk about that this past weekend on the Box to Row. So I thought we'd talk about it today on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. Don't forget to tell a couple of friends about the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, where you can find us on our website at BOXTOROW.com. Also, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Talk with you tomorrow.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast at BOXTOROW.com, iHeartMedia, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to get your HBCU football fix on Box to Row with Donal Ware each weekend on the radio station near you, and on SiriusXM on HBCU, Channel 142, and on ESPNU Radio on SiriusXM, Channel 84. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Box to Row for the latest in HBCU football, and don't forget to tell a friend.